So in Ruth chapter 2, we find Ruth living with her mother-in-law Naomi in Bethlehem, in the city of bread, as it's called. Now Ruth, she's a foreigner. And because she's a foreigner, she's this Moabite. In the city of Bethlehem, she has no authority, no title, no job, no husband, no money, no prospects. She's just the lowest of the low living in Bethlehem. But she and Naomi, Naomi's old, she and Naomi, they need some food. So Ruth decides that she's going to take it upon her to go and find some food for the two of them. And now in this time, there was this farming practice, and it was called gleaning. Farmers, they would go and commercially harvest their fields, but they would leave any fallen grain or little pieces of that grain. They wouldn't take the time to pick it up. They would leave it on the ground, on the field that time, so that people who were poor or in poverty could go and glean the rest of that crop up off the field without any legal recourse. They would intentionally leave it so that the poor, those people in need, could come by and gather it as their food. Now Ruth knows that she and Naomi are hungry, so she goes and she tries to find a field that she can go and glean grain from. So she heads out and she finds this field, and this field belongs to a man named Boaz. And it's in her kindness that she goes and she starts to collect this grain so she can bring it back to her mother-in-law Naomi to eat. And she's collecting this, but all of a sudden she gets the eye of the field owner, of Boaz. And Boaz recognizes the kindness of Ruth. And he asks his harvesters, he says, who is this foreign woman? You see, even though Ruth is nothing, even though she has nothing, she's still acting out of kindness. She still has kindness. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. put it this way. He said, anyone can be great because anyone can serve. You see, even as a foreigner, even as an outsider, she goes and she cares for her mother-in-law, Naomi. She goes and serves with kindness. But this kindness, it gets noticed. Boaz pays attention and he goes to Ruth and he says, hey, I want to tell you something. I want you to keep gleaning in this field. Don't go to another field. Stay right here and watch the women. You can learn how the other women come and glean from this field. And then he says this thing of protection. He says, I've told the men not to lay a hand on you. And if you're thirsty, you can go ahead and get a drink from the water jars that the men have taken time to fill. You see, he notices her kindness. And then he repays her with some kindness. What do you do when you have nothing? Well, you never have nothing because you always have kindness. And here's the thing about kindness. Kindness often gets returned with kindness. Boaz ensures that she's going to be taken care of. And he tells her how to get more grain, says she's going to be protected from the men. And if she's thirsty, she can get as much water as she wants. And she's surprised at Boaz's kindness towards her, this outsider. And she says this thing. She says, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner, an outsider? And Boaz says, you know what, I've been told of all the things that you have done for your mother-in-law, Naomi, how you stuck with her in the midst of tragedy, and how you came to live in another country in order to protect and care for her. And then Boaz says, may the Lord repay you for what you've done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, whose wings you have come to take refuge. Isn't that beautiful? Then he takes it a step further. Boaz does. He says, hey, he goes and tells the harvesters, his workers that are harvesting his field. He says, go ahead and leave whole stalks for her to grab. Just leave them on the ground. And then she gets all this food and she returns to her mother-in-law, Naomi, who's astonished with all that she's come back with. And she hears that it's all from Boaz. And Naomi exclaims, like, the Lord bless him. He has shown us so much kindness. You see, kindness, it often gets paid forward. Ruth was kind to her mother-in-law, Naomi, and then Boaz noticed Ruth's kindness. These waves of abundance and generosity just brushing up against each other. My friend, the truth is, you never have nothing to give. You always have kindness. So here's my question for you as you think about this chapter 2 today. How has someone's kindness encouraged more kindness from you? And number 2, when have you ever found unexpected kindness in you? Like you don't know where exactly that came from. And what did you do? Thanks for joining me.